This is the event coaches workshop for Simple Machines. My name is George Martin. My wife and I are the event supervisors for this event. Uh, we've been doing it just a few years. Uh, I'm going to start with an overview of the event so that any new coaches or people who are new to this event get all the basics. And then we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry? Oh, okay. All right. First thing I recommend everybody do is get familiar with the Macomb Science Olympiad webpage. A lot of resources there. If you go to the elementary page, use the drop-down menu at the top for events. Next page. Next slide, yeah. Then scan down the side of that page to find Simple Machines. Next slide. And you see there, Simple Machines. Click on that. Next slide. And that takes you to the Simple Machines event page. Now, first thing I want to point out is that little red button in the middle of the page that says event rules. Those are the official elementary science Olympiad rules for this event. Frankly, there's not a whole lot there, but those are the official rules. Next slide. Okay. As you scan down, you'll see a heading that says study guides. I probably should have updated this slide. It's a little out of date. What you see there, there'll be a 2022, or I'm sorry, what you'll see is a 2024 event coach training tab, which is basically a recording of this presentation last year. You'll also see one headed event coach training handout. This is the one I refer to here as a coach's handout. It's basically the event rules expanded out a little bit. Okay, and so could be useful. The next thing you'll see is what's labeled as sample questions. This is about a 10-page document that I created, which goes through the format and the types of questions that you can expect to see in the event. And the last one there is, this is the PowerPoint presentation from a 2014 workshop that I did. We'll come back to that one a little bit later. By the way, I expect that the PowerPoint from last year will get replaced with this year's, but that may take a few days. Next slide. Okay, below that you'll see a heading for training videos. Again, I probably should have updated the slide, but what you'll see there is basically the last 2 years of this training event, just the video on YouTube. I'm assuming those will get updated and this year's will get put in there and maybe 2 years ago will get dropped off. I'm not sure how they're going to handle that one. The last thing there, labeled 2014 workshop, that is actually a video that they shot while I gave the workshop back in 2014. It's still valuable. It's still useful. Go out and look at it. Again, we'll kind of talk about this stuff later. But anyway, so these resources are there. Next slide. As you scan down the page, you'll next come to frequently asked questions. This gets updated as necessary each year. So you can always go back to this section at any time between now and the competition in May. There may be something new get added there. All right, next slide. The other thing I want to point out is a little farther up the page, there is a box that you can click on for the zip grade form. This event uses the zip grade. Zip grade allows me to optically scan the answer sheets for grading. Definitely speeds up how long it takes us to get the results. I recommend coaches download this form at least once. Make sure your kids know how to fill it in correctly. Because as I said, it is optically scanned, so they need to fill the center of the circle and make sure that the optical sees it. All right, next slide. So let's talk about the format of the event. This is a station event. There will be 10 stations. At the county competition, there will be 2 complete sets because I need to be able to handle up to 20 teams at a time. District competitions, I'll probably only set up 1 because I don't have to deal with that many teams. Students will have 2 minutes per station. They will move between stations. There are 10 questions per station, so a total of 100 questions, which is 150 points, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Most of the stations are going to have an object or tool provided. It's a physical object that the student must identify which simple machines that object or tool represent. And that object may be more than one simple machine. It may be a compound machine. Okay. One station is going to have a frame which will contain 2 or more pulley setups for them to evaluate and identify. And one station is going to be dedicated strictly to inclined plane. There will be no object there, just pictures. I've found it very difficult to bring a inclined plane to set on a table that's obvious. So we'll deal with that when we deal with pictures. Next slide. So the test questions themselves are going to be in document protectors, and they're going to be taped down on the table so that they don't walk with the students. Scratch paper and rulers will be provided at each station. I will collect the scratch paper at the end of the session. Students should bring pencils, not pens. At least with a pencil, if they change their mind, they can change their answer. Students may bring in a clipboard for the answer sheet, as long as there's nothing else on the clipboard. Yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. No cell phones or calculators. They are neither desired nor needed. Next slide. Okay, all questions are multiple choice. Now now sometimes the choices will just be yes, no, or true, false, but it's still multiple choice. So we use the zip grade answer sheets for this, makes it real easy for grading. The answer sheets, we will have answer sheets pre-printed with the team name and their team number. And as I mentioned earlier, you can download blank sheet answer sheets for practice. Next slide. Next. Oh, sorry. Okay. Now, the first 5 questions at every single station are going to be some variation on identifying the simple machine. This may be simply looking at the object and answering a series of questions such as, does this object include an inclined plane? Yes or no? Does it have a screw? Yes or no? Is it a lever? Yes or no? And as I said, these may be compound machines, or I may give them 2 identical machines but of different sizes so that they can compare. A couple of the stations, they are probably going to get matching, where I'm going to give them a picture of an object and they'll match that up to which simple machine it is. These are all 1-point questions. These are also the questions that I will use as tiebreakers if tiebreakers are needed. Next slide. So the second 5 questions at each station are concept questions. These are all 2-point questions. Examples are, they may be asked to estimate mechanical advantage. For our purposes, this is always ideal mechanical advantage because I don't do friction. It's more trouble than it's worth. They may need to make a simple calculation using whole numbers or simple fractions. They may be asked to identify the correct formula for calculating mechanical advantage. For example, the object may be a lever, and I will ask them which of the 4 or 5 choices is the correct formula for calculating the mechanical advantage of a lever. Okay. Measurements, I will provide a ruler. They should use that one. I reserve the right to make the measurements in either inches or centimeters as necessary. I do that to hopefully get the answers all in even numbers. I don't like fractions or multiple decimal points. Don't need that. Next slide. There'll be several of the questions we'll ask them to identify changes or trade-offs. Does this machine change the amount of force? Does it change the distance moved? Does it change speed, direction? So those trade-offs they need to be able to evaluate that. They may be asked to compare 2 different sizes or configurations. This will mostly be in the context of you have 2 machines of slightly different sizes. Which one gives you the most mechanical advantage? So that's a possible question. And then they may be asked to identify, in the case of levers, identify the class of lever. Is it a first class lever, second class lever, etc.? And finally, there should be at least 1 or 2 questions concerning work. Next slide. Okay, on the day of the tournament, and this pretty much is the same for districts and for the county competition. Students will wait in the hallway. They'll be greeted out there. I will hand out the answer sheets, and I will give some basic instructions and then admit them to the room. No observers are allowed. It's just the way this one works. Okay. Once inside, I will give them additional instructions, and then we'll begin the competition. They will move between stations, approximately 20 minutes, 10 stations, 2 minutes per station. Then answer sheets will be collected, students gather their personal items, and they're dismissed. The point is, I have a grand total of 30 minutes to get them in the room, give them instructions, run them through the competition, and get them back out again. And I have to, on county competition day, I have to do that 5 times. So, next slide. Okay, recommendations on how to prepare your students. First thing I recommend is go get that 2014 workshop PowerPoint and go through that. That will serve as a basic introduction to the concepts. It also has a kind of a sample test at the end. When I did the PowerPoint, or when I did the workshop, we handed out answer sheets to all the kids, and I flashed up on the big screen a machine and gave them 2 minutes to answer the first 10 questions. Then I changed the picture to the next one, gave them 2 minutes to complete the next, and then took the picture away. And this to give them an idea of what it was like to try to answer those 10 questions in 2 minutes. That actual part of it got cut out of the video, and the PowerPoint has that test, but it only has the scoring key. So if anybody really wants to do that, they can either copy that out and modify it, or I can maybe put together one that can be used and put it online. We'll see. All right. The next thing is I highly recommend review the sample question document, because this is going to give you examples of each type of question on each type of device, of simple machine. The kind of questions as they will be. You can use this as a guide for how to maybe make up your own sample questions and things. I suggest you find out what science textbook your elementary school is using, just to see what's already being taught in the classroom. Simple machine, depending on which company's textbook your elementary is using, I have noticed that the year when Simple Machines is covered is typically in grade 4, but it might be grade 5. Anyway, good just to know what your school's teachers are already covering. Okay. The next thing I highly suggest you do is practice identifying simple machines. Gather up a bunch of common objects, tools, kitchen implements, anything. Supplement with pictures. Just gather stuff up and sit down with the kids and say, okay, let's figure out what simple machine this object is, and get a little practice in there, and then practice estimating the mechanical advantage of that device, and discuss the trade-offs and that type of thing. Spend a little time with the kids and practice. Next slide. Next. Okay. There's a number of good library books out there that you can make. I happen to really like one called The Way Things Work by David McCauley. It's a fun book. It covers all the simple machines in detail, and does it from the standpoint of cavemen working with mammoths. But it's fun. Okay. After that, there is a ton of info out on the internet. Just simply Google simple machines. There is still I mentioned adding science, but that may not be totally necessary. There is still a company out there which does open source software that calls itself Simple Machines. And you may run across a few links to that one. There used to be a record label called Simple Machines, but they're defunct and typically don't show up in any of your searches. But you can search on simple machines. You can search on individual machines like lever, pulley, etc. I have found links to videos, games, worksheets, lesson plans. There's a ton of stuff out there if you want to take the time to go look for it. Okay, next slide. Okay, district tournaments. Most of you should already be aware of these. These are the district tournaments scheduled for this spring. We will be at all of them. So I really highly recommend the kids participating in this. That way, when they show up at the county tournament, it's familiar. They've been through it before. They have some idea what they're doing. The Utica practice tournament is being done on 2 evenings. I do not know for certain at this time which of the 2 days that I will present. I'm available both, so it doesn't really matter. Whatever they schedule. But the practice tournaments will be run as close to the county tournament as it is feasible for me to do. All right, last slide. Questions. Anybody have any questions for me? We have plenty of time. So all of you are muted at the moment, so. Okay.
I have a question.
Okay. Oh, you just muted again.
All right, good now?
Yeah.
What types of formulas will the students need, mathematical formulas, and will they be given those? Do they need to memorize them? Can they write them down?
The only formulas that will be used at all is those needed to calculate the mechanical advantage.
Okay.
And what's going to happen is there's two ways these are going to come into play. There will be questions, say, for an example, the object at a particular station is a lever. They may be given a question that says, okay, which of the following formulas is the correct one for calculating the mechanical advantage of a lever?
Mm-hmm.
And they just multiple choice pick one.
Okay.
The only other way that it will come into play is if I say, give them a lever and then I tell them, okay, if I make the effort arm longer, will that increase or decrease the mechanical advantage? Now, they need to have a rough idea how mechanical advantage is calculated in order to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Will they actually have to calculate it? No.
Okay. Will they be allowed to bring any kind of notes into the?
No.
So
No,
they'll have to
no
have
notes.
they'll have to have the formulas memorized for each type of machine.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I wasn't here at the part when you said what machines we're doing.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
I wasn't here for the part when you said what machines we're doing. Can you please explain that again?
Oh, I actually didn't mention it. The 6 simple machines that they will use are all in the handouts. And they are inclined plane, wedge, lever, pulley, screw. What did I miss?
Wheel.
Incline. Oh yeah, wheel and axle.
Yeah. Wheel and axle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's all in the handouts. If you download the handouts, you download the rules for the event, it's all listed there. Okay.
I do have a question for you. So this is my first time being involved in this. So we aren't actually building anything with the kids with simple machines. They're just identifying and doing formulas and things of that nature, correct?
Say that again?
So we're not actually building anything with the kids, correct?
Oh,
We're just
right.
identifying. Okay. Okay.
Right,
Awesome.
right. No,
Thank you, Jesus.
okay, now I understand your question. Yeah. No, they don't have to build anything. Like I said, they're going to come into the room, they're going to get to a station, and there's going to be an object there. They just have to identify what simple machines that object is, and then answer some questions about it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Which is also why part of my recommendation on preparing your students is gather up a box full of objects. I say first year we did this event, every object came out of the kitchen drawer or my workshop, out of my toolbox. So, yeah. Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
When students are allowed into the room, do they all come together? Will they all be starting at question number 1, or do they start in a staggered format?
No. Actually, as I said, there are 10 stations. They will all come into the room and they will be directed to go to a station. Doesn't matter where they start. They're going to do all 10. But yes, some may start at station 1, some may start at station 5, station 10. Part of the instructions that they will be given in the room is to make sure that they realize which station they're at and start filling in their answer sheet in the correct place. This is actually something you can practice with them too. Remember, when they get to the station, as I said, the test papers are going to be in document protectors taped to the table. The question numbers are very prominent on those. They just need to make sure that when they answer a question that they know which question number they're answering and mark it in the correct place on the answer sheet. Okay.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Will we be doing this after school or is it in school activities?
That's entirely up to your coaches. My understanding is that most of this is done after school, but that's entirely up to your school and your team coach and how they decide to set it up. You know, I suspect it could be done at lunch hours or something. I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Okay.
Hey, George, I guess one question. Maybe you already covered it. But so there's 3 kids on the team, let's say.
Yes.
And they're all taking individual tests. Can they?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. I must have
The
missed that.
team, okay, your school is going to have a team of 2.
Okay, 2.
Those 2 have one test paper between them. They work as a team.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Be honest, I've seen some very interesting dynamics on this. I've seen 2 kids come in and some schools will put an older student with a younger one, say maybe a 5th grader with a 3rd grader. 3rd grader's job is to play scribe. Fill in the answer sheet to whatever the older kid tells them. I've also seen it where, no, they work together, they collaborate, they decide on an answer and do it that way. That can sometimes cause problems if they disagree, but hey, that's part of the game.
Okay, I see. Thanks.
Yeah.
So you said 2 though. There's only 2
Yeah.
kids
team
that
of
come
2.
in. Because I have 3 kids on my team.
Right.
What
One would be an alternate.
Okay.
Now, some of the district competitions will allow all 3 to come in at once. And for the district, that's okay as far as I'm concerned. For the county competition, though, there's only 2 allowed in.
Okay. All right, that's clear. Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the, I'm sorry, I have another question. For during the tournament and the questions, there's no observers. Is the coach included as an observer or is the coach in the room?
Coaches are not allowed in. Part of it is like I said, because I have to do 5 sessions at county, because some of the schools have second teams which are not in the same session, you don't want anybody who's going to, shall I say, cheat. We just want to remove the possibility. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions? Okay, not hearing anybody else speak up. Nikita, do we need to go ahead and?
Yeah, I think we're good. I'll just end the meeting now. Thank you for your presentation and thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.